What's up, everybody? Welcome to Someday with me, Jay Barsky. This episode's guest is a good friend of mine, Roosevelt Merisier. Roosevelt is a film producer located in Houston, Texas. I met him originally through attending one of his comedy shows that he produces as well. I was fortunate enough to perform at one of his shows here in Florida before he moved to Houston. So you'll hear us talk about him building up his FNO brand, his experience in producing films and documentaries, and everything else in between. And stay tuned in the outro because I have some exciting news to share. With that said, I hope you enjoy our Someday with Roosevelt Merisier. Roosevelt, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Blessed, man. Active, man. Working, busy. You know how it go.
Well, it's good that I can catch up with you, man. It's been a
Yeah,
while since you've been in Florida and like we met up, and now you've relocated to Houston, if that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So, how are you enjoying it?
Nah, it's been incredible, man. Like I'm really loving Houston, man. The comedy scene out here is incredible, man. So I'm looking to build something special out here in Houston, Texas. I'm also still in Florida too. I still,
Okay.
come back for it. I'm still doing improv, the Dania Improv in Florida. So I'm
Okay.
always
Nice.
back and forth. I have a show upcoming October at the Dania Improv. So I'm pretty much gonna be back and forth from Houston to Florida. But Houston's definitely a fresh feeling, a new spot for comedy, man. It's a lot going on down here, and I'm really gonna bring the FNO brand and gonna explore and explode down here.
So, what made you want to make the move from Florida to Houston?
I just wanted to expand my brand, man. I felt like I pretty much done everything I needed to do in Florida. It was just time for something fresh, something new. Just wanted to explore. I'm the type of dude I like to explore. I like to try new things, and I like to be in new places and meet new people because that's what life
Mhm.
is all about.
So I've been to like Dallas, Austin area and just to visit and stuff. But yeah, Houston, I would love to explore that comedy scene. You got
Yeah.
some affiliation with the Comedy Lounge? Is that where you
Yeah,
were
definitely
doing the show?
comedy rounds, man. I'm doing a lot of things with them, man. I'm partnering up with them. Gonna be bringing some dope shows. Got an upcoming show with the legendary Carl Payne from Martin. That's coming up September 16th and the 17th for 3 shows, man. It's gonna be an incredible show. Looking forward to it.
Did I see earlier that you had a show with like Hamburger Jones? Is
Yeah,
that
hamburger and Shucky Ducky.
okay? Does he still wear his big cowboy hat?
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
The last show he did, that hat from the Def Jam comedy,
uh-huh.
that he still has that hat. He wore
Oh
it. He
man.
wore it that day. Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious about it because I saw that and I was like, I wonder if he still wears the hat like
Yeah, he
to his
definitely
shows.
still wears that hat, man. He's definitely still hamburger.
Are you still saying like
Yeah, of course.
hamburger?
Yeah, that's his style.
So I know you through you producing comedy shows, but one thing that I didn't know about you is that you actually are filming producer or a
Yeah,
director. So
yeah,
how'd you get into the filming
yeah.
business?
Primarily, that's what I do first, and the comedy is, it's secondly. Well, but with film production is first. But I started off 20, I want to say 2015. Started off acting and started doing small things, and then I just fell in love with the behind the scenes of it in 2017, man. And then I went full fledged. I met one of my good friends by the name of Andrew Sierra. He graduated from the Art Institute, man, and he just took me in and just taught me everything that I needed to know. And I'm where I'm at now because of him. He taught me the game. He taught me how to produce. He taught me how to direct. He taught me how to manage budgets and how to get gigs. And I've been well off, man, and I can't complain.
Do you usually do documentaries or have you
Yeah,
done
I have a full production company. I do it all, but mostly from my creative source. I love to do documentaries. I love telling stories. I love getting deep, and that's just my thing. Everybody has something that they like to do. There's guys that love doing music videos. There's people that love to shoot weddings. There's people that love to shoot commercials. It's all about what you love to do. I shoot it all, but primarily I'm a documentary filmmaker.
so who are some of the documentary directors that you've kind of followed and inspired you?
Um, the documentary I've been watching one. This guy, he has a documentary that he made about his hometown, Louisiana. his name is Edward Buckles Jr.
Okay.
He's a really he did a super dope documentary about Hurricane Katrina. Remember when Hurricane Katrina
Mhm.
came through? It's just like real gut wrenching interviews about the people that actually experienced that, that was in that hurricane documentary, and actually showed. He spoke about the gun violence, and
Mhm.
it just made you feel like you was in New Orleans. So yo, he's definitely one of them. And and this other guy named Andrew Schultz. He's also he does a lot of documentary work for like CNN and stuff like that, and also the Vice Network. I watch them religiously, man. They put on a lot of great docs, man, a lot of good things, and they have a bunch of directors that they work with. So Vice Network is like my top tier, primarily number one, inspired documentary station.
What kinda brought your interest in comedy scene and producing comedy shows?
I've always been, man. I've been raised on comedy, man. I was raised on Bernie Mac and the Red Foxes and the Harlem Nights films and the Fridays and stuff like that, man. And it was just like I was highly influenced by the comedy game, man. Bernie Mac is like my number one influence because
Okay.
I grew up in his era, with the stand up and the Def Comedy Jam and the Bernie Mac show and stuff like that. I grew up in his era, so just seeing Bernie do what he does is just like it just inspired me so much to be like, you know what? I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna figure it out, And I just started doing it. I used to go to this show down in Miami called Speak Fridays.
Okay.
And it was like they had like a poetry and comedy thing going, and I was like, wow, like I just really loved the idea and how everything was set up and the comedians and the type of talent that they had. And I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna create something like this one day. And I
Yeah.
did. Yeah, and I did, and I started it all with Hennessy Williams. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I booked him one time, and he tore the house down, man. And then from that day it was like, yo, everybody was like, "Yo, you got to go to that FNO show. You got to go to that FNO show." So I really, opened the door with Hennessy Williams, man.
Okay.
He's opened a lot of doors for me.
I enjoy your shows, man. That's how like I originally met you is like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
coming to your show and I got a chance to also perform there too, which was fun. But yeah, I mean, as I told you before, like I like the scene that you bring there. Like I always think like comedy shows should be like, it's live music and stuff, get the like
Yeah,
party going,
fun.
people.
Yeah. hmm I just like to create an environment, man, for
Yeah,
people to come and enjoy, and they come there for comedy. They dress up real nice, and they just come
yeah.
out and enjoy some good comedy.
It's fun, man. That's why I like more enjoy just going to the shows rather
Mhm.
than performing. Because if you're performing, then it's like okay. I usually just drink water for a bit, like I save my energy for the. But at least like if I go to the shows, then okay, I was like, can I relax? Can drink
Yeah,
and
have
stuff.
me some drinks and stuff like that. Yeah. But for me, it's like I enjoy the shows, but I always got to make sure everything's on point. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
All the performers are here, and everybody's doing their times, and everything's just set up correctly with the lighting on the stage, the
yeah,
mic, audio system. It's a lot. From my end, being a producer,
yeah.
it's a lot that goes on behind these shows, man.
Well, you mentioned FNO, which I believe it stands for failure is no option. So, do you want to explain like what's that about and just like how you came up with the name for it?
Yeah, failure is no option has just always been a motto of my life, just not even being from here and coming from a whole different place. You're just an underdog. You know what I mean? And you're not set to succeed because you're not from here. So you have to go harder than, all of the people that's from here. You know what I mean? So that's always been a thing for me. Just just going hard, man, and not stopping. And I got the FNO name from a classic rap artist by the name of Lloyd Banks. I'm pretty sure you heard of Lloyd Banks. He had a
Mhm.
mixtape called Failure's No Option. And I just took the name and I just ran with it, man. And that was one of my favorite mixtapes as well. So but Failure's No Option has always been a motto of my life, you know? I've always been an underdog my whole life, and that's just how it's been. And that's just, the brand. There is no option.
No, I love that, man. And you are, a hard worker. Obviously, I've been to your shows, and as you mentioned, there's a lot of like in the background scene. So even when I was like up there performing, I was like, I don't know if you like, because I know it was the first time that you probably saw me. So I was like, I'll make sure that at
Yeah.
least you think I'm funny enough to
I
be able to.
saw you. I was watching. I was watching you, but sometimes like when I'm getting phone
Yeah,
calls, I gotta go in the back, I gotta talk to this guy. It's just a lot going on, man. So it's a stressful job, but I love it, man.
yeah.
Love it.
I knew the audience liked me at the end, so I was like, I'm sure like you'll have me back again.
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta keep it consistent, man. And once they see
Yeah.
you more and they hear your name more, it's just you become a household name.
Yeah, yeah, that's the point, man. You got to be out there. You got to be exposed to the public. That's how it works. I realized
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. And that's with every comic, man. And even with Kevin Hart, man. I was watching the movie Alone Came Polly. Have you seen that?
Hmm.
Yeah, with Ben Stiller, and I saw Kevin Hart in the film, and he was like like a super extra. He was like holding a boom mic in the
Yeah.
background and all that, and it was just like it takes grind, man. Nobody automatically gets in this game and get to the top. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You have to go through a lot. You have to put in that work. You can't. It's impossible for someone to get in the game and just skyrocket straight to where Kevin Hart is,
Yeah.
It's a bunch of work that needs to be done
Yeah.
to get to that point.
So before I started getting into stand up, I mean, I always listened just to comedy podcast. And that's one thing that I've always heard is just the grind, the grind.
Yeah,
And I thought like grind was just like, working hard and stuff like that. And no, like in the comedy scene, like it is an actual grind, like you got to balance, things that are going on in your day life. And then
mhm,
the evening, you kind of like are wearing a different mask. You're like a different, I kind of
yep,
think it like you're Batman. Like you have a day life, like there's stuff going on,
yep,
but then you have a whole another scene. You have like another face. You gotta, you have to be exposed to the public. You gotta deal with different personalities,
yep,
different people. Not
yep,
everyone's like, a nice, calm person like you.
right.
Yeah, man, it is a grind, and yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot with I've dealt with, just performers, man, that went through a lot during the day, had a bad breakup or somebody passed away, and they still just got on the stage and just, made it happen. So it's a lot, man. Just balancing a daily life and being a comic, like it's a lot, and it takes a lot, and that's why when a comic makes it, man, it's just so refreshing.
mm. Like you mentioned, like you see someone like famous and big, and there was a grind. That's why
Mhm.
I kind of like, especially with comedians, I kind of like going through their albums just and seeing like how far back their material is, because
Yeah,
you can tell like the grind if they have a lot
get
of like
better
stuff
and
out.
better, and they
Yeah.
get better and better over time.
Do you listen to albums?
Yeah, yeah. I listen to albums. I listen to a lot of old school stuff though, like Red
Okay.
Rocks and Robin Harris, the Richard Pryors and the Eddie Murphys and stuff like that. I listen to a lot of those old school tapes, and I watch a lot of old comedy. I mean, that's how I get inspired. And I'm really liking this new guy now. I don't know, he's not new, but I just got on to him. His name's Ali Sadiq. I don't know if you heard of him.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I saw him at Dinia Improv a while
Yeah,
back.
it's hilarious,
Yeah.
man. You should watch his special, man. The Domino Effect. It's hilarious.
Okay.
He's hilarious, man. So he's just like one of my top comedians right now, man. And like I watch his special like 10 times already.
Okay.
It's hilarious, man. Like it'll have you crying because he's a natural like storyteller,
Yeah.
and there's just a lot of things you can relate to when someone's just being a natural storyteller, and he just kills it every time from beginning to end.
I like him when I saw him at Dania Improv, and over there, like, the headliners typically like maybe 40 minutes or have,
Yeah,
a little
I'm pretty sure
longer.
he went longer than that, right?
Yeah. He
Yeah,
went, I want to say I might be exaggerating here, but I'm close 2 hours. Like, I know it had to be at least an hour and a half because I kept looking at my watch because I was heading to an open mic after that. And I
yeah.
kept looking because I wanted to make sure I get to it.
Yeah, he has a lot of material, man. And, like, when you speak on things just come straight from you and your heart and your personal
Yeah.
life, there's just so much more to talk about. And, and his stories are true, you know what I mean? He talks about him just being a pharmaceutical drug supplier when he was younger and a streets pharmacist and stuff like that. So, he just talks about real life shit and the stuff that he went through while being a drug dealer when he was younger.
And he's one comic that I never saw that kind of added stuff to the stage to use. Like besides the stool and like the mic, I think he has like two additional chairs that he asked for, and
Yeah,
he just uses them to like just make it really funny. And it's like I never thought you could do something like add extra like things
yeah.
to the stage with you.
Yeah, every comic they have their thing where what makes it easier for them, Like Craig Robinson. Have you seen Craig Robinson before?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, with the piano and stuff like that. And, everybody got their own niche and their own style of how they do their comedy.
So I'm really weird like this. So I want to be known as a comic that like sweats on stage, like physically. And this is like old school comics, like you like under the light, probably outdoors, and just like by the end they're all sweaty and stuff. I was like, I want to be known as a comic just like runs around back and because I like moving around, dude.
Yeah. I mean, who was one person that sweat a lot? I think
I said,
Cedric the
well,
Entertainer. I think it was Cedric the Entertainer. Like he
yeah,
sweat.
like it would be they worked for it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they put in that work, man.
Yeah, I saw one. There was one comic that I think followed me, and he like by the time he came back, he was just sweating, and I was like, I was so jealous because I was like, I wish I could. That's how I'm telling you. That's a
Yeah, you
workout.
got you gotta go hard and sweat hard. Mhm.
uh, yeah. So that's hey. Have you ever seen me sweat on stage? You're like Jay Barsky's working.
Right, damn right. That's how you know I'm at work. Oh yeah, another one too. You ever heard of Arnez J?
Hmm.
Yeah, nah, I've seen him. I didn't get to see him, but I had one of my boys go see him and try to connect with his team. Yeah, and yeah, he was doing his thing. He sweat a lot too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like to talk with my guests a lot about like motivational practices and like just things that help relieve stress. And you're one guy that we hung out and talked to before, and like you're a calm guy. So I want to ask, like, especially the comedy scene. So I know like the stress that it can like put on somebody.
Yeah.
What do you do to like really relieve some stress?
Uh, man. So what do I do? I listen to a lot of Nas. Like, I listen to a lot of Nas. I listen to a lot of inspiring music and a lot of Nas, a lot of Jay. Um, I go for walks. I listen to a lot of certain podcasts. You know what I mean? Mental podcasts that help me get through the day. Also, and I read. I read a lot of. I don't know if you heard of The Secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read a lot of daily secret quotes and stuff like that to help me get through my days. Yeah, but for the most part, it's music and movies, man. Movies is really like soothing for me when I'm going through something or I feel like I'm having a stressful day. Like I'll sit down and just put on like a dope documentary, man. I just feel like I'm in my own world.
Hmm.
Everything's just the outside world doesn't even matter. Yeah, so I just feel like, once somebody finds something that they enjoy and something that takes the stress away, I just feel like that brings so much more to their life. So that's what really helps me, listening to Nas and, watching documentaries and, just reading and creating.
I read The Secret a while back and it's been a while. Is there anything that you kind of want to share with our listeners of like things that you've learned from The Secret?
Uh, like I want to say, um, just like the power of the tongue. For example, if you said, "Oh man, like I don't have any money. I'm gonna be broke for the next 2 weeks. I mean, that's what it's gonna be. You know what I mean? Because you spoke it. You know what I mean? Like you put that into existence. So you're gonna be broke for the next 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Like I learned the law of attraction, and once you speak those things, and once those things come out of your mouth, that's just what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And also, um, if you do things such as give. You know what I mean? Give, and you just go out and you're just a pure heart, a pure soul, and you just a selfless person and non-selfish and things like that. All of that comes back to you. You know what I mean? Those are things that I learned from the secret, man. Just to be more selfless and not be selfish, and just always help other people, and just be like the flow. You know what
Mm.
I mean? Yeah, I've learned to be the flow of my business and be the flow of others and bring opportunities to others and other people. So that's, things that I've learned from the secret.
I'm a strong believer, like, once you put those words out into the existence, like
Yeah.
one thing is that if they're inside you, like, if there's it's something that doesn't need to be said, then you don't need to say it, or at least
Oh,
don't say it publicly.
right.
But once you put those words out and like say it to like say it's an insult to somebody, like once you put it out there, it's out there. Like it's gonna come back to you. Like so I like words are powerful. Like people and I think people abuse them when they say like insults or like mean things
Mhm.
to people and they don't realize like like that's hurtful. Like you got to be careful. Like some people aren't careful because they're not aware of like it ever happening to them. And
Right.
so,
And
yeah.
another thing I've learned from the secret is, just channeling my energy. Say, for example, um, you're going to a grocery store, right? And you walk in, and you see someone, and they're just having like a bad day, and they're just picking at you like, "Oh, get out my way, get out my face," and da 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 da, and they're just catching attitude and just being disrespectful. It's just like, just channel your energy. Don't let their energy disrupt your energy to the point where now you're arguing back with that person. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because you don't know what that person went through today. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I just ignore a lot of things, man. I just avoid a lot of situations. You know what I mean? And it's just not healthy when when you walk into situations like that. Sometimes I get it's hard not to retaliate, but sometimes you just gotta let things go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't let things like that trigger you or bother you, man. Because once it triggers you, now you're a part of that energy. You know what I mean? And now it's gonna affect your day. It's gonna affect your
Yeah.
mood. It's gonna affect a lot of different things. So I just try my best to stay away from situations, man.
And how I look at it is like you're kind of feeding into it. Like you're feeding into like that evil, you're feeding into that darkness. If you let it show that you are bothered by it, if you are reacting to the way that situation is kind of expecting you, like you're letting it win.
Right.
So, and you're a motivated guy. Like, since your move to Houston, I've
Mhm.
watched the FNO brand really like blow up and
Yep.
start like having a big following. So,
Yep. Yeah, it's a lot been happening with that with FNO event culture page, man. I created. I've always said that I wanted to create like a page that's strictly just for comedy, man. Like every time you go on that page, like every time you see a post, like you're gonna laugh. Like it makes you chuckle, or it makes you go watch an old comedy movie. You know what I mean? Like that's just always been something of mine. It always been something I wanted to build, and the page is just growing drastically, man. It's a lot happening with that page. Like it's monetized now. I get paid off that page as well, so it's
okay,
a lot going
nice.
on. Yeah,
And I love the engagement like posts, like, pick one or something like
yeah.
that, or the and I'll respond to some of them, but it's just like, I mean, you want them all. Like, I hate myself even to like respond to it.
Uh huh. Yeah, the page has just grown like a big following, man. With a lot of engagement, man. It's a lot of comedy fans on that page, and it's just like it's an excitement every time I put up a post, man. It's just pure engagement and pure love, and And every time I put up my flyers for my shows, it's just always, people inquiring about the show or how they can get tickets and stuff like that. So it's been a great strategic plan of putting that page together because it's helping out in the long run.
So you mentioned like the work that you've put into the FNO page. I mean, obviously our listeners can tell you're a motivated guy too. So do you have any practices to help like kind of help motivate you? Like, are you a meditation guy? Do you exercise a lot? Like what really like kind of helps like practices that helps motivate you?
No, I pray a lot. You know what I mean? I'm a super spiritual dude. You know what I mean? I pray a lot. And, I do some daily meditation. Like I said, I'm big on the secret. You know what I mean? And I take, walks during the day. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. And yeah, that's my thing. Pray. I pray a lot. And like I said, I'm a big believer in God, and that's my secret sauce.
So do you have any kind of like routine practices? Like do you have like a set time that you kind of wake up at, or if there's any like filming or directing, do you kind of like have a set time for that?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm working a set, but as of right now, like the baby, kind of changed my schedule up a
Wow.
little bit. You know what I mean? Have my little boy, July 10th. So before that, you know what I mean? Like I wake up, about 9 a.m. every day, and I get up. I set up my phone calls. You know what I mean? Get my phone calls out the way. I send my emails out, and if that's if I'm not shooting that day. But if I have a set, sometimes my sets range from 7 a.m. to like 10 a.m. You know
Mm.
what I mean? I get up, I get ready for set, and I get to the set. And sometimes I do like 8, 10 hour days. But when I'm not on set or when I'm not doing a show, my days normally consist of phone calls and emails and text messages and stuff like that. So those are normally how my days go.
As a videographer, I'm just like curious of like your practices in like videography and
Uh,
directing and everything.
More so, I love producing. I step and direct when I want to direct, but more so I handle all the paperwork and I close the contracts. And I have a big team, so I contract work out to my team. You know what I mean? So say for example, I'm shooting a big set, I'm shooting a documentary set, and I'm the one. I get the cameras. I get the crew. I get the lighting guy. I get the drone pilot. I get the B cam, the A cam. You know what I mean? So I'm the one that put the whole crew together, the whole set together. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot managing budgets and managing crew day to day. It's a lot. It's a lot, but I love it so much, man, and it's definitely something that that's grown on me. It's something that I love and passionate about.
I geek out a little for like technical equipment because that's one thing I've taught myself a lot is like audio equipment. And then
Mhm.
I dabbled into like visuals and stuff, but that's interesting that you're like looking up equipment because I'm always looking up equipment too and just like trying to be frugal with like the minimal budget that I have.
When you deal with budgets, man, you just got to know how to manage them,
Yeah,
especially when you're dealing with like a real nice budget. You got to know how to manage that budget so you don't
yeah,
pull out of your pocket, you know, and managing crew and make sure you're not paying, too much and for certain gears and you paying
yeah,
too much for crew and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, you have that budget. And if you go over that budget, then you have to start taking money out of your pocket. Everybody plays a special part in getting the film project done. You know what I mean? Down from the production assistant to the director, you know what I mean?
yeah.
There's multiple steps that from the AD, from the person that's scheduling the call sheets and you making sure
Oh man,
everybody eats, you know what I mean? And from
yeah,
the DP that's making sure he's capturing everything that director needs him to capture, you know what I mean?
yeah,
To the AC, if you have a red cam or a Ari, you need a specific guy for AC, which is he's an assistant camera, so he's the one that's making sure all the settings are correct on the camera.
Mhm.
He knows all of that stuff. So you hire all those people individually
Yeah.
to come together and create a dope piece of project.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of work, man.
Yeah, so it's a lot of work, but at the end of the day, the end result is so beautiful, man. And I've created some amazing documentaries that's won awards, film festivals, and stuff like that. I have my latest documentary, got some film festivals coming up for it. It's called Status Symbol. It's about a mentor of mine that passed away, got shot and killed in Philadelphia. And, it was a great story. And can't wait to share that with a lot of people. I already had a big screening for it at the Regal in New Jersey, and it was successful. And
Okay.
yeah, it went very, very well. I had two screenings actually. I had a screening down in Florida and a screening in New Jersey for family and
Oh,
friends. And
nice.
yeah.
So, are you working on anything else that our listeners should kind of keep an eye out for?
Yeah, I mean, aside from the comedy, got a lot of stuff coming up for the rest of the year. A lot of great comics I'm booking. Won't say anything just yet, but
Mm.
I just like to surprise people, man. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? When you see a flyer, you'd be like, "Oh shit!" Like he gets this guy.
Yeah.
I just like to be that type of guy. Like I don't talk too much, but when you see things, it's just like, "Oh shit, cool!" Like, damn, he's really working. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'm not a person to be posting every day. This is who I got coming. Da
Yeah.
da da da. Like I'm just not that guy. You know what I mean? I just like to handle my business behind doors and just put it out there. You know what I mean? And I have another documentary coming out. I can't say too much about this one. It's gonna be pretty dope. You know what I mean? I signed NDA, so I can't really speak about that one.
Okay.
And have another one be called "Becoming the Young Lion." It's a bully story about bullying and about overcoming bullying. It's in the state of it was I shot it in the state of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Hmm.
And it's a pretty dope story, man, about overcoming bullying and becoming a young lion and fighting through all the bullying that you dealt with from a young age, coming from a whole different country and getting jumped every single day and overcoming that to becoming a bodybuilder at a very young age to stop the bullying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the documentary I'm working on now. So,
So, any final words you want to share with our listeners to help pursuing their dreams and achieving their someday?
oh man, I just like to tell people, man, that it's not easy as it seems. You know what I mean? Some people see me and they think like, wow, like you got there quick, or you're doing all these things, but they don't necessarily understand all of the trials and tribulations that that come with it. You know what I mean? All the
Yeah.
dark days, all the negative bank account days that you had to deal with it, just investing everything that you have into the
Yeah.
brand. It's just like they don't understand that. So it takes a lot of consistency, a lot of hard work, a lot of missing out on parties and other things like that, and just being
Hmm.
on your laptop, man. I
Yeah.
spent a lot of days on my couch on my laptop, just researching and just sending out emails and just making things happen. Just getting the contracts that I needed to get to really get to where I'm at now. And it takes a lot of that, man. It takes a lot of people have fear of missing out. And I've always been one of those people that was like, fear of missing out. I don't want to be the one of those people that has FOMO, fear of missing out. I just wanted to be the
Mm.
person that was making things happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what my life has come to now, and I'm excited about it. But one thing I would, say, another thing I would say for the listeners, man, just if there's something that you want to do, man, just do it. You know what I mean? If you want to sing, you want to write, you want to be a stand-up comic, you want to be a filmmaker, pursue those things, man. Just go look at some YouTube videos or try to find somebody that's in the film, send them a message. Hey, can I get on set? Man, I would really like to work with you. I'm really interested in what you have going on. Don't be afraid. You know what I mean? Just send those messages.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just make it happen, because you never know what what will come out of that DM, or what will come up out of you just trying to get in contact with a person.
Hmm.
Just make it happen. And that's how my career started. Me not being fearful of reaching out to people and being like, hey man, I would like to, get on your set just to see how you do things,
Hmm.
And, it's got me into places, into doors that I never imagined that I would get into. So that's what, I would like to tell my listeners.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Appreciate you just sharing all of that. I
Of
think
course,
our
man.
listeners will definitely vibe on everything you're saying, but thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, man. And thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate the time.
Thanks for listening to our episode with Roosevelt Merisier. Follow him on all his socials, which you may find in the episode notes. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Please rate and comment on the podcast to help make it grow. If you want to follow me, my socials are at IamJBarsky on everything. As I mentioned in the intro, that I have some exciting news. I've recently released a motivational album on all our streaming platforms. These tracks are snippets from our solo podcast that I hope would help you achieving your someday. You should find it by looking up my artist profile as Jay Barsky. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you soon.